Good morning, everybody. It is Tom Sykes, Royalist here. It is Wednesday morning, and slightly to everybody's surprise, Prince Harry is going to be giving evidence today now in London instead of tomorrow. So, what happened? Well, basically, it was a very nasty and effective little trick by Associated Newspapers lawyers. What they did was the schedule allowed for each side to have 1.5 days to lay out their case. So Harry's team stood up 10:30 on Monday morning, took their day and a half, actually finished half an hour early, which maybe just encouraged the Daily Mail, but I suspect the Daily Mail had this idea all the time. And then the Daily Mail basically, instead of taking a day and a half, took an hour, an hour and a half. They took half an hour before lunch and half an hour after lunch, and it all wrapped up at 3 o'clock yesterday. And then the Mail lawyers basically said, "Oh, well, gosh, we finished much sooner than we expected. We can go ahead and Harry can give evidence tomorrow." Now, this is a game of absolutely fractional, um, tiny fractions will make a difference. So Harry's whole plan was to spend today prepping with his legal team, going through everything. He thought he'd be giving evidence tomorrow. In fact, suddenly he's giving evidence 24 hours earlier than he expected. Now, I don't know about Harry, but it messed up, whatever my plans were, and I'm just reporting it, right? And I had a load of shit to deal with last night that I didn't think I was going to have to deal with, and shit that I was planning to do today that I've had to change my mind. It's fine, right? I don't mind. That's why I'm here. I'm in London. I'm reporting on the case. That's what I'm doing. It's totally fine. But my point being that if it's slightly inconvenient for me, one can only imagine that this might have fried Harry's head a bit for suddenly everything to move forward 24 hours. So it was a nasty little trick by the Mail. What they basically did was they stood up and they said, look, everything that Harry's side has said is complete rubbish. We never hacked a phone. We got it all from legitimate sources. And we are going to show all of that in the trial. And then they sat down again, basically. So also, of course, what they were also able to say, because this is just not being judged by a jury, it's just being judged by a judge, right? So because it's a civil move, a civil case, they basically said, look, Your Honour, you've got all the written submissions. You're an intelligent fellow. You can read through it all. And I'm sure you've read through it all already, and you don't need us to talk you through it over and over and over and over again. And that was it, right? So it completely, it's a very, very clever move. It completely threw Harry's team off balance. Whether it makes any actual difference, obviously, remains to be seen. So the update today is that we are expecting Harry to arrive at court about 11 a.m. And we are expecting him to start giving evidence at about 11:30. Now, originally, this had been scheduled for a full day of evidence. It will be very interesting to see if they now bring back a bit of skullduggery themselves, and if this is Harry's side, if they maybe try and push it to lunch. If they could push his appearance to 2 p.m., which they were trying to do yesterday, then it means that Harry's side can go first. Obviously, Harry is well prepared for what his own side are going to ask him. And they can push the cross-examination by Anthony White acting for the Mail into tomorrow. So I slightly wonder if that's what they will try and do, but they will try and keep the cross-examination side of it until tomorrow. Obviously, that would suit Harry much better because it enables him to get back on track. Um, Very, very clever move by the male, and very flattering of the judge, to kind of say, Your Honor, you're so intelligent, you don't need us to go through things point by point by point. You can read the documentation. You don't need to waste your time. We don't need a day and a half like they did. No, this is all nonsense. We're going to show it. We've shown it in our written submissions, and we're going to prove it in the cross-examination. So really, really interesting bit of manoeuvring here in London, and I'm excited to see what happens today. I'm excited to see what the nature of the evidence Harry gives. I mean, I suspect that the evidence he will be giving in support of his own claim will be about how traumatizing it was for him, having his privacy invaded, having reporters know what plane he was on, having reporters able to access really sensitive security information like flight manifests and that kind of thing. So I wonder whether Harry will focus on the emotional impact that it had on him. That's certainly what he did in the Mirror Group trial where he gave evidence. And of course, we know what the Mail are going to say because the Mail have laid out their strategy, and the Mail strategy is very clear. All these stories were legitimate, and they came from a leaky circle around the prince. Now, obviously, there are other people involved, but this is the royalist, not the Sadie Frostist, and we're concentrating on the Harry's element of this story. So, yeah. So anyway, 11:30 today. Let's see what happens. Let's see whether they can push it back a little bit to 12. If they can even get it back to 12, then he only has to give an hour till lunch. Then they can do a few hours after lunch. And then maybe they can get it through to tomorrow that he still doesn't get cross-examined by Associated until tomorrow, which might then work in his favor because they'll have more time to prepare for that cross-examination. The Mail, obviously, will be pushing to get their cross-examination at least started today. So let's see what happens. I will be reporting on this all day. I will be doing written updates on Substack. I will be doing most of the video updates on YouTube, but I will try and link to them on the Substack. Thank you very much for supporting the Royalists. Thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for commenting. If you're able to be a paid subscriber, please do. If you're not, please stay and be part of the community. The lives and stuff are always free to everyone. And it's wonderful to have you. Thank you. Bye.